Good afternoon, folks. My name is Jay Gutenberg. I am going to be your presenter for the next hour or so, and we're going to be talking about RPR. I know there's a lot of people registered for this class, so I'm going to give it about a minute or so everyone can log in. For those that know me, welcome. For those that don't, nice to meet you. I'm going to be your RPR instructor. We're going to cover two basic topics today regarding RPR, which is Realty's Property Resource. It is a member benefit of the NAR, National Association of Realtors. RPR stands for Realtors Property Resource. It is a program that was built by NAR over a decade ago. It is a data aggregate. They pull data from multiple resources. It is a private portal. It is only available to NAR members across the country with the involvement of the MLS. We currently have almost every MLS enrolled in RPR. There are a couple small ones that have decided not to participate. You can search properties throughout the entire country. Depending on where you're searching and getting information will depend on how much information is available. I know on our island, Long Island, there are some municipalities, West Hampton Beach, Benton Villages, some of them do not release their data. So some of that could be a little bit challenging if you're in those marketplaces. But we have every piece of parcel of property listed here. And the goal of RPR is to give agents the ability to get data very quickly, use that data to use it to where it's got to go and get it to where it's got to go, which could be a potential seller, buyer, prospect. As you're on the run, RPR has a mobile application that is synced together with the desktop version. There is much more functionality in the mobile app. So if you've never used the mobile app, I would encourage you to not only use the desktop, but certainly use the mobile. YouTube is a great resource for RPR. If you want to search there, there are plenty of instructional videos, how-to videos on how to use the mobile platform. I am a licensed agent. I've been licensed since 1987. I do not practice real estate at all. I provide a variety of different training solutions for different MLSs. So we're going to be navigating today in my account. You will see on the top left that there is a company logo. If you do not have a company logo on your top left of your screen when you log into RPR for the first time, and you can get to RPR through the MLS. For those that are logging or seeing RPR for the first time, I am going to scroll down to the bottom. There is a phone number here. I am encouraging you to take out your cell, copy that number, make it a contact in your phone. RPR, their customer service is 24/7. They are located in the Chicago NAR office building. If you are having any trouble getting into RPR, logging in, creating a password, you can call them. They will talk you through it. They work for you. They are extremely impressive, and especially that 24/7 live manned by real people. So make sure you have that 877 number in as a contact. And should you have any questions, they will be happy and able to assist you. As I mentioned, we're going to be navigating today really with two facets and two platforms that RPR provides agents the ability to use. One is a price adjustment value, and the other is the CMA platform. Two of which platforms, in my opinion, are probably the most certainly unique and easily functioned and most valuable in the program. I have trained in excess of 50,000 agents in this program over the last 10 years. So the feedback that I get and the success that these agents have, and especially not being an active agent myself, but navigating or teaching in this program over the last 2.5 years, through our pandemic, it's pretty impressive how you can actually utilize the platform to create and to value properties. And that's what I'm going to demonstrate to you today. I have become an expert in a lot of different markets when I do my trainings, and whether it be for CE or private, I navigate in a variety of different locations all over Long Island, and I consistently use those locations because number one, it's easier for me, but two, what I found was I got to see trends. So if I were an active agent and I was in those marketplaces, the amount of information, the subtle information that I've acquired navigating in specific towns and watching the prices change and watching values change and watching the data because you navigate it sort of, I've created like little farm areas, and that's what you guys do on a daily basis. So the more you use this program, whether it be on the mobile platform or the desktop version, and they do sync, by the way. So whatever you do in one platform will automatically appear in the other platform. That being said, you can use this all the time and you'll start to see, because of the updates that it gives you, what the marketplace and what the trends are and how to create different values based upon what the market is in that particular area. So I'm going to start by navigating in my account on a property that I use most of the time when I do my classes. So I'm going to make believe that one of my potential sellers, someone either in my farm area or someone that has contacted me, or maybe not even in my farm area, maybe it's an area I'm not familiar with. I got a referral and I'm not that knowledgeable about the area, but I'm going to need to be. So when you get that phone call, there's a lot of questions that you would ask. So in a role play situation, you get a phone call and you want to ask all of the 20 plus questions, the address of the location and some of the features and benefits and rooms and size and utilities and any improvements, any outstanding COs, who owns the property, did you have a price in mind, did what's your time frame, where you're relocating to, things like that. So you can ask all of your questions to get a good idea of what's going on. And let's make the scenario that today is Wednesday and we're going to make an appointment, or we have an appointment secured for Saturday to do a listing presentation. So we're going to do a lot of activities between now and Saturday in preparation for that listing appointment. One of those was obviously obtain all the information from the home seller. So when you get that phone call, and if you have the ability to buy mobile or buy desktop version of RPR, you can say, hang on, let me just get to my computer, and you can pull up that address. And I'm going to pull up an address. We can type it in there and it populates through here, and I'm going to use 22 Bailey Lane. So 22 Bailey Lane is a property that is not on the market. I've asked a variety of questions. I've gotten a lot of answers. We spent a decent amount of time on the phone in preparation. And the comment that the homeowner has made to me was they have done some significant improvements. They thought this was going to be their forever home. So in the last couple of years, they put a new roof in, they finished their basement, they redid a kitchen, they redid 2 bathrooms. So they've made some significant improvements, approximately $100,000 worth of improvements. So when we get the phone call, we pull up the property, and as I scroll down, you'll see here there's a summary tab, history charts, the refined values, what we're going to talk about, and the CMA. As I scroll down, the system will generate a property value. That's one of the things that RPR does. Here is its property value. Now, this property value was updated on 4/12. So on average, approximately every 28 to 32 days, property values get adjusted and updated in RPR. I've been navigating in this property for over 10 years. It started out at the high 300s, and now it's been as high as 800, and now it's in the 721 range. And that's based upon the data that RPR generates. That has got nothing to do with any activity that you do. They will create a property value based on the data that surrounds that house. So we know many companies that generate property data, and some we think are too low, some we think are too high. Some we don't really trust, some the public has access to, so they use that data as well. So I'm going to tell you that RPR uses algorithms that other companies don't. They have a lot more data than other companies do. So when they create a property value here, you can actually click on the value or the view details, same link. And if I click on it, it's going to tell you which properties around the subject property that RPR pulled and utilized here to create that value. Does it mean it's accurate? Well, it means it's accurate based upon this data. Is this the data that you or I may want to use to calculate the RVM, which is a realtor evaluation model? Probably not. It's not a true CMA. It is a quick snapshot of what's going on in the marketplace. We do disclose, and RPR shows you where it gets its data and how it came up with its calculation. But once again, not too sure if we're going to use it or believe it or not. It does have a 5-star confidence. When I first started navigating this property, it had a 3-star confidence, and that really means that the properties that it shows and the properties and activities around that property are very similar to the property in subject. And you can see there are different icons, eyes, links that you can see to what that data is. And if you need an explanation, it's throughout the entire program. You can also see how they calculate their confidence scores. They have videos and verbiage to validate and justify where they're getting their data from. So what we know is that any IT company can create data and statistics and analytics, but what we bring to the table is called our AI, and I call that agent intelligence. There are many things that a company, a software company, is not going to know. Now, the good thing about this software company, it was built by realtors and appraisers, so as opposed to IT people. So that helps out tremendously. In addition to that, the updates are pretty impressive. So we upload from the MLS all the time, public records, depending on how fast the municipalities get to update, but we are constantly updating, and we disclose on the system how old that data is, when it was recently updated. Certainly some data gets updated daily, some get weekly, some get monthly, some get semi-annually, and even some get annually, like school report and school statistics and things like that, community data, etc. So as I scroll down, you will see here that RPR has created this value. I have created these two values here. They do not appear here, and we're going to replicate these. I just wanted to show you what they were. This was from my last class. So what we determined was that the value of this house in reality, based upon the improvements and my AI, agent intelligence, what the increase in value was. Now that could be an increase and or a decrease. Maybe I get to a house and it's in a very bad location. It's backed up to a busy street. It's adjacent to a shopping center. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of potentially even air pollution. It's busy, etc. Or the house is in dire need of updates. It could be an older home. It could be a home that has been neglected. So the RVM price that RPR has come up with, 721, really could be 500,000, because once again, needs a new roof, needs many updates, needs new kitchens, new baths, new windows, new doors, new porch. It could have had some significant damage and or property value data that has decreased its property value as opposed to increase. Now, we just coming out of a PPM market, a pricing pandemic market, and some of the statistics and houses that I've navigated through in the last 30 months, I am shocked at some of the pricing that people have either paid for or that homes are that were valued at or appraised at. And what was nice was RPR can literally help you adjust and validate each of that data based upon either what sold really close or what was nearby or condition, or once again, your AI. So RPR doesn't understand that a house near the water could have an increased value, doesn't understand school district, doesn't understand that it's on a wide street backed up to pine barrens, north or south of a particular road, may increase its value, near a farm, near a school, away from a school, a full-day kindergarten versus not, things like that that do have significant increase in values for properties. So we have the ability to use this platform called Refined Value. So if I were to click on Edit, and once again, keep that 803 in the back of your mind, I am going to reset its value back to 0 and show you how that platform works. I'm in the Refined Value, which you can get from any single property that you pull up. And there are some modules here. Refine a value by a home improvement. And it tells you about the data. You can always click where we get our information from, a company called Zonda, which was a company that bought a company called Hanley Wood, which was the leading provider of real estate home improvement data and construction data. So we have the ability to adjust, increase or decrease the value of this 721 by adding or subtracting value. So if I go back to my subject property and I told you that the homeowner had given me some information, and I wrote it here, that there was a new kitchen updated in 6 of 17, a new bath in 16, a new bath in 16, a new roof put on in 15. So there was some significant improvements done, and this is realistic data. I also did a drive-by 2 days before the listing appointment, and I noticed that there is a desperate need for a driveway at this location. Now, it does not show from the picture, it's an older picture, but trust me, that's what we concluded. So if any buyer pulls up, that's something to address as far as that value. So I've made those notes here. And when you speak to somebody and they say, well, I did a new kitchen for 40,000, that sounds very impressive. In order for me to complete my CMA accurately, would you be so kind as to text me a picture of the kitchen, the bath, or maybe the finished basement, something that you can have, because you're not going to be able to see it, and you can sort of tell by the quality of the construction, the customization, things like that. So the value there is you'll have it and be better prepared for your presentation. Also, which I forgot to mention in my introduction, if you guys have any questions as I'm navigating, you can ask them, and our host, Ethan, will present them to me. Or if you'd like to wait till after, that would be awesome as well. But I certainly do not mind any questions. As I scroll down, I added that data. So now I'm going to go back to my refined value section, and I'm going to increase the value of this property by doing certain things. For example, home improvement category. I can look through here, and there are different classifications. They're very similar to some degree, whether it's mid-range or upscale, obviously a few thousand in difference. I'm just going to pick one of them, and it gives you an explanation of what it is and what it does. And we completed this, and I'm just going to go quickly because of time restraints, put a date and a year in there, 2017, and this was a bath remodel, and one of those baths I remember was 20,000, and I'm going to add it. And then there was another bath remodel, and that was also done very close. So let's say it was done right in July of 17, and that was $12,000 increase. Okay, if you notice, as I add, it is taking approximately a little less than 50%, depending on the type of construction, the area, etc. There was a major kitchen remodeling, and I believe that was done in June, and let's say it was 2018, and I think that was 40,000. Okay, and we had that. All right, and then there was also a roof that was put on, asphalt shingle roof, and that was done in July of, let's say it was 16, and that was 8,000. So you have the ability to use this module to increase values. So far I've increased the value of this property by 35,000. You see that here. So I'm up to 756. The homeowner has basically told us in that interview that we did on the phone that he thought his house was worth in the height of the market, a little over 800,000, but now he's pretty confident that it would be very close to the $800,000 price mark. So we're not there yet, but let's see what we have to utilize to get there. In addition to this module, there's a module here, refine a value based on needed improvement. So let's say we went to a house and there was a lot of things that were in need of improving. We can certainly use this module to adjust that, even if it was a listed property. Maybe you're working with a buyer and there's a listed property and it's 800,000, and you get there and the seller says, or the buyer says, well, you know what, I'm not sure this is worth 800,000. It looks like I have to put a new kitchen in, the baths are really in bad shape, the roof is, etc., the heating system, etc. I'm not sure I'm going to offer anywhere near that 800,000, but let's try to figure out what it would potentially cost to do those improvements, and we'll adjust the price of our offer. So in this scenario, the only real deficiency that we saw was that the driveway was in dire need of a replacement, not even a recoating. So here I would write driveway, and the total cost, my estimate would be 6,000, and I hit add. So now it takes my 35,000 that I added minus the 6. There is my net. I'm down to 750. I'm still about 50,000 shy of what I think the house is probably worth, give or take. The third module that we have to utilize is our subjective model. Refine a value by market conditions. Well, there are a couple of categories here. It tells you about the information, about the data, but maybe you're unfamiliar with the market. You can go to the summary, back to the home itself, and let's look at some of the data. Meaning, it looks like in this marketplace, the RVM, the model, went up about 13,000 based upon the value of what has closed around that property. Now, remember, houses closed, they could be closing 3 months, 2 months, 1 month ago. I will tell you that I navigate in this property probably every week for the last 10 years. And I've seen the increases as high as 26,000 for a 1 monthly increase. I've seen them as low as negative 5,000. All in the negative numbers were the last probably 4 months ago. Last month was a positive number. This month was a positive number. And the month before was actually a positive number. But the other ones started to decrease a little bit. Now, in addition, this is also an important factor. In the 12-month period, you'll start to see, and this is an increase of almost 10%, 9%. So as you navigate in properties in your marketplace, whether it be Great Neck or Merrick or Babylon, whatever the towns are, because you're going to be navigating and looking at properties, you'll get a good idea of where their markets have been, where they've gone, and what trends they're going. So if you navigate all the time in properties, and you'll start to see that, you know, depending on what house it is in Manorville, if Manorville is your market and Manorville is pretty big, there are certain areas in Manorville that have increased 10%, 12%. This little, and I say little market because really all they're doing is they're taking the data from this little spot, which is only a small section of Manorville, only a small section, okay? When we get into the actual CMA in a few minutes, you can increase this view and pull in more properties and then see if it's even greater or different than the small section immediately surrounding the subject property. So I'm going to go back to, and if you notice, I've not, all my information is saved. I've not hit a save button yet. I'm going to go to my refined value again. I noticed that the property value has gone up, and even in the area. I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to go back down to that third module and look and say, okay, how are the local market conditions? Maybe I'm unfamiliar, but I was able to do some research. I pulled 3 or 4 properties up. I noticed that they were increasing by at least on average a few thousand for that month. And then certainly over the last 12 months, it's gone up. So I am comfortable in saying that the local market conditions are a little above average. How is the exterior condition of the property? Well, we took a tour, everything's in perfect shape, gutters, siding, trim, nothing's peeling, nothing's broken, all the caulking's in place, everything looks really impressive. And if you notice, I keep increasing this. How is the interior? Well, you're not going to know that obviously until you go there. Maybe some of the pictures helped. So getting those pictures at the time of the initial phone call before the CMA is also um, will help you. But let's say you had to wait to get there. Maybe you had the homeowner on the phone list and I have no time to now, but come on Saturday, 10 a.m. I'll give you as much time as you need, I promise. So you can do most of this information. And then once you take the tour and look at the inside and say, I have to make a few adjustments. It's an impressive property. Give me a few minutes. You can increase the data by going here. Now, how is the lot size? Well, lot size is pretty similar to most properties. And if you're unfamiliar with that, you can go back to the summary. There's a couple of ways to figure that out. You can go to the overhead view and you can zoom in or out and see how the lot sizes are. You can also go here to the interactive map. It pulls the property here and you can zoom out a little bit. You can sort of see that this subject property is very similar in shape to pretty much all the others in this development. This gives you a lot of information about what's going on in the marketplace, which you can utilize. I mean, RPR has got a lot of functionality. We're just concentrating on two aspects of it today. So I'm going to X out of that and back to my refined value. And I've completed 3. There's another 3 left. The lot size, I'm going to leave it basically the same. It's very similar. How is the view? Well, that property's got a little bit better view than most. It's on a little bit of a hill and there's no neighbor diagonally across and no neighbor next to it. So the view from the front porch is in the backyard is a little nicer than most. So I'm going to increase it 1 degree above, 1 level up. And once again, because of those same factors, privacy is also a little bit better than most. No neighbor behind, no neighbor on one side. So there's an increased value in privacy. And as you increase these things, there's a dollar value attached to them. You're going to get familiar with the dollar value. For example, if I go privacy from 40,000 and increase it 1 level again, goes to about $8,000 increase. The view goes from 40,000 to 52. That's a $12,000 increase. So you'll get familiar. The rest of them are on average around 5,000 to 6,000. This is the biggest, usually the view. Now, you could find a property or try to list a property or a property for sale. Maybe there were no updates. It was a 20-year-old house, 30-year-old house. It was updated when it was built and it was maintained perfectly. So you didn't have any ability to use this module to either increase or decrease the value, but you can certainly just go and use this one. You can go up or down. As you go down, you'll see the numbers reduce. So if you go to a house and you're trying to, it's a 40-year-old house and it's no updates were done and you're trying to justify or validate possibly a value to it, you can use that sliding scale. And I'm just going to put this back to stay true to my example. So based on my numbers and analysis here, I am up to 791. That is based upon, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. I would probably, just to stay true to my $800,000 mark, I would increase one of these. I know this one should be real close, and there we go. 798, once again, subjective. I am happy with that number. So I have just increased its value based on a refined value. Now what I'm going to do is create a report for this data. You can click on the create report. RPR has got 8 different reports. We're going to concentrate basically on 2 of them today. A property report, which is what
Hey, Jay, we have a question real quick.
Sure.
Someone was asking how we got to that map you were just showing before.
Sure. So thank you. I'm going to go back. So let me just run this and then I'll go there. So it takes a minute. Now, the map is next to every property. I'm going to go back to the address. Next to every property in the entire program, there is an interactive heat map There are 11 different heat maps, and here they all are in the data layers. So you got a map showing increased values or values where they increase or down, change in values, concentration of distress. You can see all that flood zone information. These are heat maps. They adjust every day. They're living, breathing data documents. You got points of interest. You got you can create mailing labels. You can create databases. The map feature was one of the latest improvements that they have done on the program. So the way you get there is next to every property is the interactive map. Once again, just click on it. 12-month change in value, for example. It pulls it up. You can zoom in and see the value of each of the properties. Oops. Okay, and you can see behind here all of the values. I'm gonna X out of that. There you go, clear a picture. And once again, based on when these properties get adjusted and so on. There are different, you can see the legend of all the properties, and once again, different choices of data. If you wanted to see, for example, concentration of distress, you can see that there's not much here, but more here and here and here because they are darker based on the legend. So there's a lot of cool functionality on the map. Back to my refined value. I created that refined value and then I created that report. All of my reports are saved in the report section. You'll see the number 1. That's the only report I ran today. So if I click on the word reports, it'll show here. It'll pull me to my reports. And here are all of the reports. The system saves all your data for 30 days straight. You don't have to edit it, delete it. It's there. So you get all of your data for 30 days and then it purges. If you want to save it for longer than that, you can. So that report, which was done on 5/4, I click on it. It's going to show, and this is an abbreviated report. It'll show my refined value. And when I say abbreviated report, I'm going to go back into the report section. And I'm going to do that the long way just to show you how you would do it. Pull up the property again, 22 Bailey. All of the data that we've done to it is there. And once again, whatever you do in your RPR account stays in your RPR account. No other person, no other agent sees it. I am going to run a report again by clicking on create report. It is going to appear in a property report, but I'm going to show you by clicking on the plus sign all of the elements because my last class I abbreviated this. So I'm going to reset this all. So now you're going to see all of the data that is available in a property report. And there's a lot of them. RPR gives you way too much data. You're going to need to learn how to edit some of this data. For example, you don't want to potentially remind this homeowner if they are a seller that they had to refinance the house. Maybe there was a divorce situation or whatever, and they had to refinance it, change ownership, things like that. But yet RPR will be able to tell you a lot of that data. So I know that is listed here under the mortgage record. So I'm certainly not going to give that back to the seller. The seller is also moving. They're not concerned on neighborhood stats. If this was a buyer and this was a listed property and I was doing an adjustment or a CMA or a price value because it was listed for, let's say, 800,000, and I wanted to see if that was valued at that, if it comped out at that price, then I would potentially use some of the additional data features that RPR. So you have the ability to, and I'm going to run this just to show you what it all is. But if I wanted to adjust, all you do is X out of the data, remove some of the components. And if you're not sure what they are, they highlight them for you. I always tell them, especially in the beginning, look at the report, go through the pages, pick which ones you don't, and then go back and edit them. And I'm just going to take out a few. And if you even want to add custom pages, you can put custom pages in your reports, maybe something about you or your company. So you could add custom pages to reports as well. And I'm just going to run that. So that is how you do the adjustment. Now I should have a few reports, 2 of them being finalized. One is the property report with all of the components, and one is the third report that I ran when I eliminated, suppressed, removed some of the data. And then the original one, which was very short, and that's why I hesitated to show it to you, it only had 4 pages and only a little bit of the data. Okay. A lot of people use this 4-page report as sort of a confirmation email or an adjustment. Hey, based upon it, I'm going to send you an update to the CMA that we did, or after seeing the house, you want to run it and rerun it while you're there. And you can do this all while you're at that house. It's not that challenging. And once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you can truly become an expert. So I will tell you that RPR will change how you do real estate. I think it's an awesome program. Let's look at that report. I don't know which one it was. It's probably the one with all the data, 25 pages, way too much. Now it shows all of the pricing, the value that RPR came up with, the value that we came up with, and this actually pulled from my last CMA. I didn't reduce my last CMA. I'm going to do that next. So it pulled up the last CMA that I did as well, which we're going to do. Shows you the last month increase, 12 months, all the data as I scroll through, way too much. The worksheets that you'd used, the comps that selected or we selected, graphs and charts. But here's what I was telling you. So here is a property report. It looks like in 2011, the house was owned by a male and a female, Mac and Madeline, I would assume, and 165,000 on a loan. And then now the house is just owned by Michael, and the loan amount has increased from 165 to 280. So there's a lot of data here. They include all the heat maps. They include all the graphs and charts that we haven't even covered today. So if you've never taken an RPR class, I certainly suggest there's plenty of them that LIBOR provides for CE credit as well that you can take. So now I'm going to go out of this report, go to that second report or the third one that is edited down to half. I took out probably the bottom half of all those pages. And once again, the data is the same, but I removed the mortgage data, or I removed all the information about the community because this was for a seller. So they're not really concerned with all of the data. I'm going to go out of this report. And once again, all these reports, you'll see I have 42 of them that are within 30 days old. There they all are. You don't have to purge them. You can reduce them by collapsing it to your reports so you don't see them. Here are all of the components of each of the reports. I have minus the bottom half of them. I'm going to reset so that it's ready for my next class. And I'm going to go into and back to the subject property and start my CMA. So we came up with a refined value based upon the data. I am now going to click on the CMA tab. RPR has got 2 CMAs in their platform. One is what I would consider a real estate agent CMA, and one is a more detailed analytical appraisal platform CMA. So if you click on the second one, it will actually ask you, are you an appraiser? If you are, it will become a registered appraisal. It is a more lengthy, more detailed. Agents can use it. Agents can use it even if they don't know a lot about the appraisal process. It is impressive if you can go to a seller and say, hey, I've ran 2 CMAs, 2 different platforms. One came in at 798, the other one came in at 796. I mean, they will be very close. The platform is a little bit different. You do have more adjustments that you can make monetarily on the second one, just like an appraiser does. There's a little video on what the differences are. The difference is really step number 3. So 1, 2, 4, and 5 are the same. I am going to run through the first CMA platform today. So I'm going to take this property and I'm going to do a CMA on it. First is confirm the home facts. 5-step process. I'm going to hit, and let me get rid of this data so that clear all, reset it. That was from my last class. Now it's reset. Confirm the home facts. 5-step CMA. All the data is here from public records. I have made 2 changes. Public Records has this house listed as a Cape. I have converted it or updated it to Colonial. I've also been told that the basement was finished, so I added these two things. Does not adjust the price, but it's just information for me. I hit confirm. If I did need to make any changes, I could have. Beds, baths, things like that. So once you get to step number 2, you need to find comps. It's going to take, do I want to use the same comps from my last class? No. So it takes the subject property. You can go through and add a known property if you choose. Let the system choose properties for you, which is what we're going to do. We're going to show all. I want to see every property that is available for me to use in my CMA, and let me make the decision whether I want to use it or not. I'm going to go within the last 6 months as opposed to 3. Here's where I make my adjustments. It is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay. Living square feet, price range I'm not really including. Total price I'm not including. I'm not doing any of that. Year built, not using it. I'm just going to let the system, based upon this small map, pick the properties that meet this criteria. And here I go. Search. 9 sold properties for me to select for my CMA. If you notice, some of them have blue stars. Blue stars are the ones that RPR has used in its evaluation. Does that mean I want to use them? Maybe or maybe not, but I'm certainly going to look at them potentially first. Now, I'm going to teach you the CMA for its navigation, not necessarily for its accuracy because of our time restraints. But another way to search for data, because this is a small section of Manorville and it's not all inclusive of the entire area. I can draw a shape. If I click up here, draw a shape, hit the polygon icon, make the map a little bit bigger, pick a bigger section of Manorville by clicking, slide, click, slide, click, slide, click, slide, click back. Bigger area, still not encompassing the entire area of Manorville, but certainly increasing it 3 or 4 times. So instead of 9, I'm hoping to have in the 20s. There we go. 23 properties now I can choose to include in my CMA, which will appear here once I select them by clicking on add. Okay, so that's one way. Now, another way would be I can use geography within a zip code, the entire Manorville, which is the bigger of the areas. So now I have 3 more properties because I was pretty close in my dimensions, but so now I have 26. Or maybe for some reason I decide to search by school district, which does include some other towns, even though they are nearby, may not be appropriate for the CMA, but if you need to, and the school district is within the area, which there are many of, search the area. And my 23, so there's 7 extra properties that are outside of Manorville that can still go to the same Manorville school district. So I'm pretty comfortable with using my zip code. So I'm going to stay within the zip code. 26 properties. Okay, now I would go down and select which ones that I'd want to use. And I can include them as I navigate down to decide which ones I'm going to use. I would click on them. I'm going to click on a few. Similar, I know most of these properties, some of them I've even been in. So I'm not looking at each one individually. I'm just looking at the ones that I know are fairly close to and similar to.
Hey Jay, we have another question.
Sure.
Someone's asking if every property on the MLS is on RPR to use as comps.
The answer is yes, the answer is every, and we also have privately sold properties as well. So the answer is yes. Yep. Okay, as I scroll down, I think I picked a few. I'm looking for a few more. I could use this one. This one's better, actually. I like that one better than this one. And this one's It's also this. All right, so I picked a few, probably 4 or 5. I'll know in a second. So here they are that I've selected. Now, once again, in doing this fairly quickly, I hit update. It's telling me that based upon the data that I used, I'm only coming up with 705. Based upon the few that I've used, I'm gonna see how many I used by going to step number 3, make adjustments. Now, there are 6 comps that I used. If I wanted to remove a comp, maybe there's a property that I saw, and I'm gonna go through them all that I don't wanna use. So I can pick one, let's say, for example, I'm gonna use this one, and I wanna potentially either remove it or not use it. I can go back to my edit, look at which one it was here, and remove. So I'm going to remove one. Now I'm down to 5. Update, and I took the lowest price one, and you notice from 705 came to 730. Okay, just teaching you navigation, not necessarily for accuracy, even though I'll be pretty accurate. I just want to teach you navigation. 2 more steps. Review, make adjustments. Back to make adjustments. There are now 5 comps. Now what I need to do is look at each of these comps and say, how does this comp compare to my subject? How does this compare to my subject? So I'm going to tell you that this one is not as good. So I'm going to slide this over a little bit. If you notice, as I navigate over, I've just increased the value of my subject property by almost 20,000. A little too high, I think. I'm going to go back to, say, 13. This property is very similar to my subject, so I'm going to leave this the way it is. This property also very close to my subject, and I'll leave that in its value, benefits and features. And this property not as good, so I'm going to increase that, slide that over a little bit. And this one also not as good. And now I'm going to see what my value is. I'm not sure. I increased it by 42,000. If I hit update, I got to be pretty accurate, a little shy of quote unquote my 800,000. So I'd go back and just be a little subjective and go 1 over on each. Next page, 1 over and 1 over. I should be very close. There we go, 792. So based upon the properties that I selected, now I'm going to click. Now I can do a few things. This value is a realistic number. Ranges in RPR are crazy. I do not like their ranges. They're way too big. You can edit them. I would suggest you take this real number because I'm a big believer in real numbers. Edit. Put the real number back. Oops, paste. Come on. Why is that? I don't want to reset. Edit. Copy. Paste. There we go. And my range is, if I would use a range, which I'll use in this example, 790 and then 800K. Maybe I go even 805 just because it's right there. Hit save. Create my report. There's the normal range. Create my report. This report is being created in the seller's report. It's a property report with a CMA attached. I want to see if there was any edits that I have. See, I did make some edits. I took out some data. I'm not going to remind him about the mortgage. So you have the ability to customize this. This is, and you'll get to know what all these different elements are, but for this example, I'm going to leave it all in there. And we're going to let that generate. And I'm going to show you that that report is the 4th report that we ran. I'm going to go back to the report section, which is here. You can customize your reports right here by managing custom pages. Add pages, you can put them in the beginning or at the end of the reports, each of them. So you could have a handful of custom pages, whether maybe about you, your bio, company, things like that. Or if you want to confirm an appointment, you can have a template ready for the appointment confirmed for Saturday at this address, and then just download it and then add it to that report. That's very impressive. I'm going to actually put those in there just so you can see what they look like. Let's see if I've done that. No, I'm going to put them in there just to run. You'll see one, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. So while those two reports are generating, I am going to go back to the home page. We pulled up a subject property. It was 22. We did two tasks today. We looked at the summary of the data. Okay. We made some updates to the notes. And then what we did was we went to the refined value, and we've created a refined value based upon all of the improvements, based upon our AI, based upon the location. We have a 798 value based upon realistic, true CMA data. We're coming up with a 792 value. You can use all three of those numbers in your reports. Some agents don't like to use this. Some don't even bother using this. Some use this as a CMA, even though I'm not so sure how applicable it really is. But the ability that RPR gives you to use these modules is pretty impressive. And once again, all of those reports are saved in your report section. And one way to get there is also on your home page. Let me go back to the home. You have a module here of recent viewed reports. If I click on view, here are all of the reports that we did. If you did any searches, these two modules are extremely impressive. And you can go back, view, click on it. And there's your CMA. So I want to thank you all for being here. Hopefully you got a little more information about RPR. Take advantage of it. It's got a lot of aspects to it. We only really covered two, which were the price adjustment or refined value and the CMA, which were these two tabs here, refined value and CMA. And we only did one of the two CMAs. Log on, get your account. You can get in directly through Stratus. If you have any questions, when you go to log in or download on the mobile platform, do not try to create a password. Always hit forgot password, even if you think you have one. Let the company reset it. And if there's any challenges, they will send you an email that says call them, because that means that your email doesn't really match up and your name and phone numbers don't coincide with the state and the NAR. So call them, they will straighten it out, and within a minute they will send you a updated email to reset and activate your RPR, because you all have an RPR account. It's just a matter of accurately activating it. And I want to thank you, and you guys have a great day. Any other questions? Ethan, we're good?
We had a question about the mobile app.
Yep.
You mentioned there is one. They wanted to know, can you do everything that you showed today in the mobile app, or is it more limited?
It is. It's actually, the answer is, in most cases, because of the mobile platform, there is more functionality on the mobile app. It's just a little bit on the CMA aspect. As you can see from the details, it's a little bit harder to navigate, but there are other functions on the mobile app, like call an agent, looking up properties, split screens, because of the tablet mobile application, that are even more impressive than the desktop. I would suggest always doing CMAs on the desktop. It's just a bigger screen in most cases. But if you need to make an adjustment or text out, and you make an adjustment on the fly at a residence or on the road, then grab the mobile, update the CMA that's already there, because it's there, and then you can get it out by email or text. So that's my true suggestion. But yes, there is more functionality to some degree on the mobile platform than the desktop version, because you can't text, you can't dial an agent, things like that.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Jay, and hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you, folks. Bye now.